Well, can I share a story with you? So, I get my milk from a farm, and I was talking to my farmer, and he said something to me that kind of caught me off guard. I don't know how we got into this conversation, but he mentioned that he just kind of offhand, because I think I asked him something about like, how do you keep your cows fertile? Because here I am, working with women, teaching them how to chart their menstrual cycles and things. And he said, he's like, I give them iodine every week. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then he said, yeah, if I don't give them iodine, they get cysts and they don't ovulate.
Hi guys, this is Elizabeth Quam with Engedi Grove, and I explore the health, kind of multidisciplinary action, health of plants, animals, people, and taking examples of plants and the health of plants, animals, and people, and kind of correlating those to some of the health problems that we have today, also doing homesteading, but I also want to implement some alternative practices of medicine using iodine and boron and some of these other nutrients as I see fit with the health of animals. When you go to an auction, oftentimes you could easily find some animals that are metabolically unhealthy. I have to weigh my options in thinking about what to bring to my property or not, but I believe that a lot of the degenerative diseases that animals face can be cured as well. And I want to prove it if I can. And God help me. And yes, animals, find it curious for yourself why that why animals are becoming insulin resistant as well. And this doesn't go for just only cows that are fed grain that they shouldn't be fed. This goes for like dogs and cats, and cats are carnivores. I mean, their food is like meat. It goes for the whole gamut of animals and their insulin resistance growing. Even horses that are just fed hay all of a sudden have metabolic disorders of insulin resistance. I mean, it's just growing, and what I believe is growing is fungus. But anyhow, so the animals, scientists' relationships, they want to see the relationships between insulin and milk production in dairy cows, so that they can give better health to the cows, which it doesn't equate because they're basically trying to push their production over time on the healthy cows, and they're trying to get the already insulin resistant cows at their beginning of the lactation to have a little bit more sensitivity than the other ones so that they don't have lows. Under normal circumstances, insulin resistance in cows is an adaptation that helps channel glucose and other nutrients towards making milk in early lactation. Unfortunately, insulin resistance may become uncontrolled postpartum, leading to the breakdown of fats and metabolic disease. I don't believe they're taking in consideration that the amount of iodine right at the beginning of lactation is a higher amount, and that cow needs more iodine in the beginning of the lactation because that's when it is pushing out the most iodine to the baby cow. So colostrum has higher iodine, and so does during that first early period of lactation. It needs more iodine consumption. And right now, we are feeding our cows even less iodine, and they don't have an ability to really gauge actually how much the cows are getting because they are given a feed while the iodine can dissipate. So how do we know for sure if that cow is getting the iodine that it needs? And this this was a study on iodine and iodine immune response in the cows. In the study, the dietary iodine supplementation in the cows showed effective modification of the expression of several molecular targets with an improvement of the pathways involved in immune response and oxidative stress, an undoubted positive repercussion on animal health. that's your health too. As a consequence, we indirectly showed a better response to bacterial infection because of the reduction of somatic cell counts. Furthermore, an improvement in dairy product quality was observed since lipid oxidation reduced in fresh cheese. Such findings, together with higher milk iodine content, clearly demonstrated that iodine supplementation in dairy cow could represent a beneficial practice to preserve animal health and to improve the nutraceutical properties of milk and its derived products. I think it's crazy that it showed and influenced the expression of 525 genes. It showed an influence in the expression of 525 genes. Can you talk about epigenetics? That's really important. Dairy cows are notoriously more unhealthy. They're also putting out their iodine, keep on pushing out their iodine through their milk. Are we giving our cows enough iodine? As a homesteader, especially in a field that they're just giving their cow grass, that's really great. Metabolically healthy for the animal, not graining them, but we need to make sure that we're giving our cows enough iodine. Because if we're not giving our cows enough iodine, then they will not have the good amount of iodine they need inside of their milk that will nourish us and keep a yucky fungal load down, keep their teats from getting mastitis, and keep all of their health in tip-top shape. Milk cows are notoriously difficult to get pregnant, and I believe it's mostly has to do with how much iodine they are lacking and starving. I have a clip from Fertility Friday, who is interviewing Jorge Flechas, and I want to listen in on a bit. She talks about what she learned when she went to a dairy farm, well, actually just a farm that she gets her raw milk from.
And it's interesting that lack of iodine to the ovary, you get a lot of scar tissue. And Dr. Abraham was the first one to point out that this scar tissue will go down in size with giving women iodine. And he pointed out to me that he had 2 or 3 cases where women had started taking iodine for PCOS, and within a matter of a year were having regular menstrual cycles. They went from having a period every 3 or 4 months to having a period every 28 days. He had the ability to go in and take a look at, with laparoscopic procedures, he could look at the ovary, and he saw that the scar tissue that was surrounding the ovaries was melting away in the presence of taking the iodine. So that today, I've been at this now with iodine for about 17 years, and I can truly say that out of something like 33 women who have polycystic ovaries, that out of 33 women, 30 have gone on to become pregnant. Dr. Abraham felt that that was a very significant number because infertility is so prevalent among our patients with PCOS. The issue of PCOS can pretty much be treated as if it were an iodine deficiency. When you treat the problem, you have an increased fertility rate that occurs. In fact, my latest patient with PCOS is a nurse from down in the Charlotte area. She just had her baby approximately 4 weeks ago, and the baby is doing just fine. Mm-hmm. We know that there is an increase, and she had been trying to get pregnant for about 5 years and it had no success. And once she started taking iodine, within 6 months, she was pregnant.
Wow. Well, can I share a story with you? So I get my milk from a farm, and I was talking to my farmer, and he said something to me that kind of caught me off guard. I don't know how we got into this conversation, but he mentioned that he just kind of offhand, because I think I asked him something about like, how do you keep your cows fertile? Because here I am, working with women, teaching them how to chart their menstrual cycles and things. And he's like, I give them iodine every week. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then he said, yeah, if I don't give them iodine, they get cysts and they don't ovulate. And so I was just like, what? Oh my goodness. So I'm talking to my farmer. And then he told me about some of the conferences that he goes to and how they present information for farmers to support them in keeping their herds healthy and keeping their heifers ovulatory, because obviously that's their business. And then I did some research, and it turns out there's all this research about cows and iodine, and how they've done testing to see how when cows won't go into their estrus cycles, they give them iodine, and a large percent of them will go on to start ovulating regularly. So yeah, that's when you talk about the success that you've had with women who have polycystic ovary syndrome, polycystic ovaries, and then you give them iodine. I just couldn't help but think about what my farmer told me about his cows.
So here's a study. It reminds me a lot of the postpartum depression that a woman can suffer after a pregnancy. Correlation between habitually low iodine intake associated with increased prevalence of prenatal emotional distress and depression. The potential non-beneficial effect of iodine supplements may be biological. There might be biological explanations, and more studies are needed. Detox symptoms. So if you have iodine and you have low iodine and you start increasing your iodine, you experience detox symptoms. All of my family had detox symptoms that we went through, and we're like, how do I know that iodine's not causing this? And in a moment you pause and you think, how do I know? You're experimenting with your body basically, but it's not, because there's been I've had and heard so many testimonies of people healing with more iodine intake. And I have healed and felt the healing of iodine and boron and my fat soluble vitamins. I have felt that healing, and I am excited that those detox symptoms went away, and now I'm enjoying this health. And there are other things that I want to heal on my body. I'm pausing my iodine and boron until after I take out my breast implants, and that's a different video that I can link here, so that if you want, or if you're interested in that, you can listen to that. I got them when I was stupid, when I was 22, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm getting them out, okay? Anyway, so I want us to take that into consideration. I want healing. I want our cows to get pregnant. I want a land flowing with milk and honey. I want abundance. I want beautiful enjoyment of life and health. And I believe it's attainable. And I believe a lot of these diseases can be melted away by iodine and boron. And this is the reason why I'm like, oh, you can't group everything together. And I won't even group it into just fungus, okay? Or mycotoxins and mold toxins. I won't group it into that. I'll group it overall. Iodine and boron kick butt. They kick diseases' butts. And we aren't experiencing only insulin resistance in people. And it's not only the people that have a gross diet. No, insulin resistance is something that people are experiencing that are thin. They're thin people and they have insulin resistance, and they're like, what's going on? I don't know. Well, it's happening to animals too. Even the animals that are eating grass for their diet. These veterinarians are suggesting different times to put the horse on grass. And I do not believe that it is a grass problem. I don't believe that horse has a grass problem. I believe it's a fungal mycotoxin problem, and we've perpetuated this. But you don't even have to think that. I just know that iodine works. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. God bless you. So when I started going gluten-free, there's a theory I have about it, but it lowered my toxic burden. And where I had infertility and I had a miscarriage, and my toxic burden went down because of going gluten-free. And I think it's actually, my theory is that a fungus inside of us creates an enzyme that can digest gluten, and that's what the toxic reaction is when somebody consumes gluten, but that's a theory. Anyway, poor baby. I don't think he'd be here if it wasn't for... I don't know when my health was going to get so bad as for them to say, oh, we didn't find anything. We didn't find anything. We didn't find anything. Oh, now we found cancer. Sorry. Okay, let's start treating you now. I'm glad that didn't happen, and I don't believe it's going to happen. Praise Jesus. Bye, guys.